All right, we are here with the man who does it all, the hottest man to pin down at the Catholic Marketing Network, Alan Napleton, the man, one of the founders. And Alan, an incredible show again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I got to think that every time I've tried to grab you for an interview, there's always been someone who's wanted to talk, someone who's had a story, and there's so many stories. The real amazing thing about the Catholic Marketing Network are the stories here, and the stories of faith, the stories of perseverance, the stories of love, the stories of endurance, the stories of conversion. It's just an astounding thing. It's much more than a show.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, because when you think about it, to be involved in the manufacture of religious articles or to put out books that are, faith-based, or to be selling those, you have to be motivated, and oftentimes they have a story that God and the Holy Spirit did something very profound. We have many six-figure executives that have walked away from going careers because they want to use their God-given talents for the church.
And I've interviewed some of them this week. It's something.
And that number is growing. So I think there is an outpouring of the Spirit on laity. We're seeing that. I get a lot of calls, and since I've been doing this for 30 years, I can tell you it's exhilarating. I think it's an exciting time to be a layperson.
And what I think is most important about being here and doing so many of the interviews that I do, I actually got a kick out of it. One of the people said, who I interviewed today was over there. I had been looking for videos to learn what it was going to be like, and I recognized your voice because I had been watching your interviews from previous shows. Is that there's so many great Catholic stories that do not get told. The media doesn't tell them. People don't discover them, and of course, it's not that like people put them under a bushel, but they're affecting the people nearby. They're doing the message of loving your actual neighbor rather than trying to say, look at me. Yeah. But those stories and those branches just go so far out, and it really is the mission of what the church does, where not only does the clergy do, and people like Father Apostoli, who was associated with this event for so long, and you did a beautiful tribute to those, like the church, so much of what it does just is there and helps so many. Well,
and there's a lot of factors in that. I'm not a newspaper man, but if it bleeds, it leads. There's a part of us. Oh Lord, show us something, a miracle. Let's see something splashy. And so the good news, on a personal level, it has a tremendous impact. I guess it doesn't project out as well, because it's really when people meet a sincere person, with virtues and such, it usually leaves a pretty positive impression. And then that's one of the things that we live our Christian life. People think, well, they're happier because generally speaking, we Christians should be the most joyful people on the planet. And that sometimes it might be apologetics, but more often it might be, I want what you have, and that might be faith motivated, because joy is an outcome. I had a bishop tell me one time, try to make sure you're a joyous person in the room. I don't know if you know the story of the Nagasaki martyrs, but they sang from the cross. That's hard to do, but we're supposed to be singing from the cross. So it's the world. We're passing through this world, so it's a little bit different. I mean, when that comment, if it bleeds, it leads, is Madison Avenue media. So for us, it's got to be joy, because the bleeding part of it, but.
Now, this is a new location. Last year you were in Chicago, and I understand you're going to be repeating in this location. What is it about Lancaster and this spot that really decided this is a winning place to be?
Well, we moved the event around, Peter. So, we've been in LA, we've been in Miami, we've been in Chicago, we've been in Cleveland, we've been in New York, Philadelphia. And the reason we move it around basically is a lot of people drive to the event, quite frankly. And if you're living up in the Northeast, you're not likely to drive to L.A. We have some people fly in, we have, quite a few to fly in, but moving it around, you'll find after looking, well, who was here, you'll have a skew more towards, like this one, more towards the Northeast. When we're in Chicago, more towards the Midwest. Now, we had a situation where we were at the Valley Forge Convention Center 6-7 times over the last 20-some years. They obtained a gambling license, so it became a casino, which is certainly their prerogative, but it wasn't a convention center that we needed. And then we had another place in Somerset, New Jersey. It went bankrupt. It's a big warehouse right now. So I didn't have a Northeast location. Now, someone suggested to look at Lancaster, and I almost didn't go on the site visit because I thought, Lancaster, wow, what a pleasant surprise. There's a story why this beautiful convention center is sitting in downtown Lancaster. I won't go into that right now, but when I came in, I saw this, beautiful convention center, new convention center, and then became more acquainted with the historical elements of Lancaster, the things that are also available for attendees, the Catholic shrines that are in the area. I was a little concerned about it's the furthest from an airport, a major airport. Harrisburg's right close, but that didn't seem to. I didn't know what kind of problem. They were really great. We had people that. We put up an opportunity on some of the social media to connect. Hey, I'm coming in at this time, I'm coming in that time, and so they might be taking an Uber or a rent-a-car. Many people took the train. Amtrak runs through 10 or 12 trips out of Philadelphia.
You can go theoretically from Boston all the way to Lancaster too. And if you can take a train to Philly, you can take a train to Lancaster.
I was surprised how many people came in on the train. It's close.
Now, I want to talk about two other things. First of all, you've got some of Father Apostoli's book, and he was so involved in your ministry. It must be very hard to be without him. But of course, we have his writings. What's this one? The Advocate, the Spirit of Truth, the Gift of God and Love, and he was such a part of this convention. It's got to be hard to have the convention without him.
Well, he was, but as I mentioned last night. I have this devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe, and when I had this spiritual awakening almost 30 years ago, it'll be 30 years next year, I found myself in Mexico City almost immediately. And I wasn't catechized, I was really a revert, and I found myself in Mexico City putting on an event. And I had invited Father Grishel to come to the event, and he said he accepted the invitation. Said, "Well, I'd like to bring a friend, Father Andrew." And I said, "Certainly." And so I actually met Father Andrew at the shrine in Mexico City, and he and I became fast friends. We brought hundreds of people to the shrine, and I worked with him on the Fulton Sheen Foundation and many other projects. So I was really working with Father Andrew probably for 5 or 6 years before we started the Catholic Marketing Network on other projects. So yes, he was our spiritual director here, but he became a friend and a spiritual advisor even before there was a CMN, so I miss him terribly, is the answer to the question. We had this tribute. People have asked me, well, who do you think is going to be the new spiritual director? And I said, I really don't want to deal with that this year. We just lost him in December, and that's when the idea, well, let's do a tribute to Father Andrew. And then we had the CFRs over here, because he would always bring down a couple of the sisters. So it wasn't, and I said, I really just want to pray about it. I think we're entrusted to Our Lady of Guadalupe. She'll send us the right person.
And you're working on a project, you had a booth here yourself, the Viva Guadalupe. Can you give a little bit about that?
Well, I'll try, but that all goes back 30 years. But we're working with Cardinal Burke, and I guess I'm going down to Mexico City in a few. I've already been to the shrine, I don't know, over 100 times over the last 30 years, but it's accelerating. Now I'm going down pretty often, so I think I'll be starting to spend pretty much 6 months out of the year down there, because we're going to break ground on something that's much needed. When Our Lady appeared to Juan Diego, she is a very motherly apparition, a beautiful apparition, and she said she's the mother of all who love her in this land, was the way she put it. Well, the Rio Grande didn't separate countries. It was 1531. There was no Mexico. There was no United States. And what I talked to Cardinal Burke about this because in St. John Paul II's Apostolic Exhortation, Ecclesia in America, he talks about this concept, talks about many things, but one of the things that resonated with that message, I believe, from Our Lady was countries have a right to borders, that's a good thing. And how they handle their borders, that's a government question that they have the right to answer. But St. John Paul II said, but in the mind and the heart of the Church, the word America would be in the singular. One church, one America. From Alaska to Argentina, one America. And in that document, he entrusts that mission to Our Lady of Guadalupe. So I've talked to many bishops about this, many. And it's something that I think we're building a building there. We're going to have be an office in there. We're going to have a chapel. It'll be an English-speaking information center. We want to provide safe. We're giving away free images of Our Lady of Guadalupe, but safe travel. Many people want to go. Many. I think it's the largest untapped destination point on the planet. But and I think there's a spiritual reason. I think there's a huge reservoir of graces. So I live in Dallas. I have flown down to Mexico City, gone out to the shrine, petitioned Our Lady, and come back the same day. And I have had that petition answered.
And that is one of the most visited shrines in the world, although because of Mexico City's huge population.
Well, in the whole country.
And all the countries around.
They in their city, it's a big, they come to see Our Lady. So you're right. Probably, I would say 90% of the people. I think next to the Vatican, it's the most second visited Christian. But if you talk to the group here, these are the people that are taking their faith pretty seriously. Only about 1 in 20 have been to the shrine. All 20 want to go. There's it's the largest untapped destination point, and we want to try to, because I think she said here, a key, I will do these things. So why God gets involved in time and space, I don't know, but I can tell you it's there in that location for a reason.
All right, and if people want to find out more about the Catholic Marketing Network or Viva Guadalupe, where should they go online? Well,
Viva Guadalupe, the Viva Guadalupe is a different organization, and it's as it sounds, Viva, V-I-V-A, Guadalupe.org. Catholic Marketing Network is CatholicMarketing.com. Pretty easy.
Well, Alan, you do great work, and I mean, I'm glad to at least afford you the 15 minutes to sit down in order to have this conversation. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for giving me access to so many wonderful people.
Well, I hope you'll come back next year. We're going to be back here in Lancaster next
year. We will do our best, and I'm sure my wife wouldn't mind visiting some of the quilt shops around.
Did you find some nice quilts there?
So if there's a lot of well, she's buying material, not quilts. So
material.
She makes quilts.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.